Okay, everyone, Monday, the 22nd of January, and we are back. Three of us, Hamish, Tony, Ryan, to chat about the joys of Celtic advancing in the Scottish Cup. Before we get into all of that good stuff, guys, this video is brought to you by MPH Group, Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist, covering mainland Scotland. If you're thinking about giving your home heating system a boost, MPH has an enticing Navien Boiler Winter Promotion. You're talking top-tier efficiency with them, and you'll also be getting a free Navien Internet Controller. They offer flexible finance options as well, so you can cope with the chill and consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien. That's technology in a certain way, Ryan. We won't ask you about that because you've had your run-ins recently, but you're nice and calm now and ready to talk about Celtic. How have things been, guys, over the last week while I've been off with some well-earned time away?
Been all right, hasn't it, Ryan? It's been fine. It's
been quiet. I've wanted to be a wee bit more lively at this point, especially with incomings to do with transfers. But you know, we had Kuhn to talk about last week, which was quite good. Good to see that get announced. He was paraded at half time. He seemed pretty happy to be there. Thought there'd be a couple more incomings, but you know, they've still got another 8-9 days in which to pull a rabbit out of the hat. But yeah, it was good. It was good to have Celtic back on Sunday rather. I was saying Saturday as if it was a couple of days ago. It was only yesterday. But yeah, it was good. It was good to be back at the game. Good to talk about a game. Good to talk about some goals, hopefully in this show as well, which is really good. Yeah, I'm just glad the football's back.
Yeah, it's nice to have it back, Tony, and we're kind of into things now for the second half of the season. Not a great deal to be gained yesterday for the team, but it seemed like we did relatively well, and it's kind of, as I say in the title, you know, picking up where we left off.
Yeah, you're in a hiding to nothing with these games, Hamish. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't win by a handsome margin, people get concerned. And if you do win by a handsome margin, it's like, well, the calibre of opposition. So, taking all that into account, I was just pleased to see that, as you say, many people and many players, you know, kind of started where they left off. Bernardo as well. Good to see Odin Thiago home, open his account and play well too. Good to see Kyogo back in the score sheet. Abada getting a good run out as well. So lots of positive stuff. I mean, we spoke about the level of opposition yesterday, and we spoke about how well they did too. So yeah, but I was happy. There's a lot of positive stuff to take from yesterday, and yeah, I'm going to take that rather than any kind of negativity.
Yeah. Is the atmosphere different now, Ryan, at Celtic Park, as to where it was like maybe a couple of months ago? Is there a feeling that Celtic have a bit of direction again?
I just think people are happier at the moment, and the only way to do that and the only way to keep that happiness going is by winning football matches. The good thing is Celtic have won their past 5 games on the spin since that defeat to Hearts. Helps that the Green Brigade are back, helps that the boys are back because they drum up the atmosphere. Got to say that Bucky Thistle fans were well. They represented their club really, really well yesterday.
Wasn't 5,000 of them though, was there? Like no, some people had suggested
2,000 or something on Sports.
Still good.
It was brilliant, regardless, for a Highland League side. Yeah, they'll have been really happy. Hopefully they all got home safe last night, because I know the weather was extremely treacherous. I know that by experience because I was driving home in it. It was an absolute nightmare, so I can only imagine what it was like 4 hours up north. But yeah, they were well represented. It seems as if they had a really good day out, and they lapped up their support at the end of it. Even though they were beaten 5-0, that will still look like a good result to them, because they weren't exactly hammered in the way that maybe I thought that they were going to, or the way that people were talking about before the game. They did themselves proud. I thought it was really funny at the end of the game, because you knew the players wanted to take some shots off the Celtic players, and they were all making beelines to that. Matt O'Reilly was inundated. I think they were looking for Kyogo as well. I think Stephen Welsh changed jersey with his cousin, so you know that was all good. And yeah, Brendan Rodgers went into the dressing room, into the Bucky Thistle dressing room at full time. I wouldn't expect anything less and anything more from Brendan. But yeah, all in all, it was a good day. 5 goals, clean sheet, and you're in the hat for the next round.
Yeah, we're obviously focused on Celtic here. I mean, this channel's called The Celtic Way, but for Bucky Thistle, it's a hell of a day out, and as Ryan says, it's kind of a decent enough outcome for them. I mean, we've lost heavier than 5-0 this season to better teams, in the Champions League, so it kind of puts it in context. Them coming away to the best team in Scotland with all those stars, and I know it should have been more than 5. I know that we scored about 100 offside goals in that first half alone, but it kind of worked out for everyone. I mean, I know you said just before we came on, Tony, if it had been like a 1-0, 2-0, you'd had a bit of a weird feeling. 5-0 kind of probably keeps everyone relatively happy and content.
Yeah, it was a wonderful day for everybody connected with Bucky Thistle, and and I think they enjoyed their day. There was lots of talk about the shirt swap, and there was lots of talk about Brendan getting in and addressing them afterwards. The manager made a big point of bringing that up, which I thought was a wonderful touch. And we spoke as well. I'd written a piece for the Herald during the week, and it was Darren Strong, the goalkeeping coach, and his son had been diagnosed with a brain tumour since he was 5, and he was desperate to meet Brendan Rodgers, and Celtic made that happen. There was a pic, they presented him with a jersey with Daniel 1 on it. So wonderful moments like that, Hamish, that everybody connected with that club will never forget. And that, to me, was what yesterday was all about, because the result was never really going to be in any doubt. Celtic, won 5-0 pretty routinely, but seeing that kind of community spirit with Bucky Thistle and the Celtic family just extending the hand of total friendship. I think they presented Celtic with a lovely wooden kind of plinth, with the date and the 2 badges and stuff like that. So it was wonderful in that sense, and I just hope everybody attached to Bucky Thistle, like Ryan said, got home safely and enjoyed a wonderful day in their history of the football club. And you wish them nothing but the best, because they came and they tried to play Celtic, and they didn't resort to kicking the players or anything like that, which could easily be done when you just think you're chasing the ball around and get frustrated. So I just thought, as you said there, Hamish, it worked out well for everybody, and lots of feel-good stories from it as well. So excellent day.
Brilliant stuff all round. Before we get the chat involved, and hello chat, by the way, good to have you all on at this, what is it, Monday morning for you guys, start of the week. It's good that... See the people who are watching this, I've always wondered this, are they at work, are they on their laptops and computers when they shouldn't be, are they skiving, are they just having a lie-in? Let us know, because I've always wondered. We really appreciate it though, and as I say, I'll get some of your comments in. First of all, guys, what Celtic shirt would you be going for if you were a Bucky Thistle player? And you can have any of the players, even the ones that didn't play yesterday.
Probably Matt O'Reilly. I think that's the one that will probably... And you're just looking ahead to a couple of years' time.
Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo.
Matt O'Reilly's the Celtic. He's the best player at Celtic just now, and he was the best player yesterday in the park by some distance.
I think Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo for the souvenir.
Bernabé, no.
Yes, indeed. And listen, to the victor of the spoils, I remember years ago when Celtic played Ajax, and Charlie Nicholas thought he had got Johan Cruyff's strip, because he went into the dressing room and tried to get it when Celtic played in the Couch Stadium, whatever it's called, or however you pronounce it. And he reached into a kind of bin and gave him a strip, but it turned out that it wasn't Johan Cruyff's famous number 14. It was some other number, and George McCluskey, I think, was the lucky recipient. He who scored the winning goal in the last minute. George McCluskey, I think, got Johan Cruyff's
guy.
Yeah. So so it's even Celtic players do that, past and present. Search out strips and stuff like that. And I remember Paul Lambert famously telling me that he didn't want Zidane's strip in the 1997 Champions League final.
Yeah,
he didn't bother. He wasn't a souvenir hunter like that. He was just he had it all up there. Did
he not play Zidane out of the game? Did he not have an
he
incredible game?
Yeah.
You don't need his shirt if you've actually played him off the park and kept him quiet. Zinedine Zidane.
If you've got Zidane in your pocket, you don't need his shirt. You've got all of them, to be honest.
It's in your pocket, isn't it?
Yeah, that was Paul Lambert's thoughts on it. You know what I mean? So yeah. But I love that fact when people talk about they like shirts. It's funny because I'm not much of a souvenir hunter or an autograph hunter myself. I don't have much memorabilia. I was presented with a Celtic shirt when I left the Daily Record, and it was signed by Scott Brown and Neil Lennon. It was Celtic, and it had to Tony Haggett, to Tony, best wishes on 20 years from everybody at the leather belts, which is a nice thing to say because I always called them the leather belts. So that was a nice thing. But that's like one of the few things that I actually have, because it's not something that I kind of seek out. But for guys from Bucky Thistle and other clubs, and even professionals who want certain shirts, then if that's your bag, so be it. So, but I would have thought Matt O'Reilly and Kyogo's would have been the former Northerly queue for the Bucky guys to get a hold of their shirts.
It's great for guys like that at that level to get like a shirt like that. They'll be up in their house, on the wall for probably the rest of their time. Just sometimes when it's a Celtic player in the Champions League after a scudding against one of Europe's big boys looking for a shirt, I'm less open to that. But I think yesterday, brilliant stuff. As I say, we'll get the chat involved. What did I get there? Someone asking if I basically only come out at night for these videos. Yes, Hamish, do you only come out at night down under? Yes, I actually sleep during the day and I was going to say party all night, but I do these videos all night. Moving on swiftly. Stephen, morning all, quite happy with the draw. No fears for me and good workout yesterday in terrible conditions. St Mirren away, I believe, guys. Could have been easier than that. I know we won there routinely a few weeks ago, so hopefully that's in everyone's mind. But Ryan, that's a tough one. We lost there, last season?
Yeah, they'll be without their best player though, if the Queen of the South game is anything to go by, because Kwon had a bit of a stormer of a debut. He'll obviously be... He's ineligible to play against his parent club. Now, I'm only joking. I know they've got better players than Kwon, but it's a difficult draw. It could have been easier. It could have been harder, but it's one of those ones that Celtic negotiated. I know it was 10 men a couple of weeks ago, but they negotiated that ground really, really well when they were there the last time. If they can go anywhere near that level at St Mirren, then I think they'll be okay in the tie. But no, they're not a team to be underestimated whatsoever. They're really well run under Stephen Robinson. Seem to be getting a couple of bodies in during the transfer window as well. So yeah, it could have been easier. It could have been more difficult. But an away tie at St Mirren Park, at least you know that the surface is going to be quite good, and it's going to be a good game of football between two sides, hoping to get through to the next round.
I'm almost like when I see ties like this, the kind of initial feeling is, that's quite a toughie. But looking back over the years, and I know it helps when you basically win the Scottish Cup virtually every season like we have recently, but I sometimes think these tough away games kind of focus the mind a little bit. In the Cup, like you look at Tynecastle last year, I think the same round or maybe a round later, maybe it was the quarters last year, but that was a real tough one and the team were really focused that day. I know this will be tough as well, but it's a game that there's not going to be any complacency there for this team.
I'm all for tough ties, Hamish. Every draw, my dad will say to me, "Who do you want?" And I will say Rangers, home or away, don't care. You maybe have to play them at some point. So if you're going to lose, then I'd rather lose in the early rounds, because I don't want to lose a final or a semi-final because you feel gutted at that. But I'm always confident. So whenever there's a big draw like that, I would have taken Rangers yesterday, home or away, wouldn't have bothered me. Probably the hardest of the ties when you look at the other top flight teams who they got. Most of them got one that they would probably think is doable. So, but yeah, listen, if it's the toughest tie, great, bring it on. I'm all for it. As you say, I want the mind to be focused. I want it to be sharpened. I want Celtic to win the two trophies that are available to them come May. So I want them to be in the mix, and you play who you get, and I don't particularly care who they get. They've gone to Paisley recently and won, so that'll be in their minds, and I think they're well capable of hitting their stride and being even better than that performance in Paisley at the turn of the year there.
Yeah, looking forward to that game. Maestro, first half, liked the shape. Wingers out on side, stretching the game. And also seeing Home acquitted himself well. This is my admission moment, guys. I've not actually seen the full game. It was on at 4 a.m. here. I'll be honest, most games I get up and watch the entirety. Today was just a kind of YouTube job. And there's actually quite extensive, I think 9 or 10 minute highlights that the Scottish Cup put up on YouTube. So I feel like I've seen most of the game. What's your take on that though, Ryan, in terms of, the first half, liking the shape, wingers, stretching the game, and also Home as well?
Yeah, they were all doing their job. Just before we continue, I think your mics went off. It sounds as if you're speaking through your laptop. So that could be maybe a wee job to do while I'm talking.
You've got some ear, Ryan, for this stuff.
I know. I'm used to technological issues. I can catch them out when they're happening on other ends too. But yeah, just on the shape of the team looked good. I think the lineup looked good when it was announced. Tony and I were on the pre and post match, or the pre-match rather. We were talking about all the good changes you've seen in the team. There was only really one big change, and it was Home for McGregor. I was wondering why McGregor was getting a rest after 19 days. But I'm like, if there's any player that needs the extra break, it'll probably be McGregor, because he'll play every other game this season. But yeah, it all looked good. The first half looked really good. Abada was really getting into good areas. Yes, he was offside a couple of times, but he was consistently making that run. His marker just could not live with him whatsoever. That late run that he was making on the byline, his marker could not get anywhere near him, and he was putting that ball in. That ball into Kyogo was shades of 21-22 Ange Postecoglou season, because we've seen that so many times. Abada crossing the ball into Kyogo's path, and then it's an easy finish. But it was a good ball from Abada. Like, I know it was a simple one to make, but in a way it goes out the way and back in. It doesn't allow the goalkeeper to get anywhere near it. Kind of brings him out without him having any chance of getting it, and then Kyogo does the rest. But yeah, a lot of good performances. Bernardo and O'Reilly, I'm still getting mixed up between the two of them, and that's good, because it means that the two of them are quite similar in their style of play. I think the more I watch Bernardo, the more I think he may be Matt O'Reilly's long-term successor at the club. Don't want to be talking about that just yet, but he's definitely playing really well at the moment, and he's living up to his sort of reputation that he had when he joined the club. And yeah, Odin Thiago Home, he got a start and he got a goal, and it was a well-taken goal as well. So all positives from this end, and a clean sheet as well.
Just in terms of Abada, Des saying great to see Abada back, and Pete, can all the doubters now admit that Abada doesn't look like a player who wants to be. I must say that again, just from the highlights, but Abada looked really lively, involved in a lot of what we did, and doing things quickly as well, which I liked. I think he's at his best when he's like direct and fizzing balls across.
It's a strange one, James, because I wrote that. It was one of my topics in the instant analysis that we did, and I put Groove Abada was my headline, as in Groove Amada, but there you go. And he sort of sees back in the groove, and Abada impresses. And I got a lot of stick on X and Twitter from people saying, tell me why Abada impressed, and it was for all the reasons that you've outlined. Neil Lennon was also in the Viaplay. He was doing the kind of summariser, and he said he was really impressed with Abada. So I was thinking, well, we were kind of watching the same game, but I mean, each to their own, and everybody has a different opinion. But I actually thought he was in the mood. He was back in the groove. The ball in that Ryan says was textbook for Kyogo. And he was caught offside a million times, but he never get the benefit of any of the marginal calls, not one. And should have scored when he put one by the post. Thought he'd scored, then it was pulled back for offside again. So I was happy with Abada. I wanted to see something from Abada yesterday, and I got what I wanted to see. A player who looked lively and is making his way back into the side after a long-term injury layoff. Has a lot on his mind out with football. Get all that, so cannot underestimate that. But I thought he performed well. He impressed me enough, and I'm thinking, right, good. That's a start, and I build on that. So I was So I was impressed enough with Abada. So and he was involved in a lot, and he's still quite quick. He was too quick for the linesman in some instances because he just kept getting flagged offside, and about 3 or 4 of them, they were marginal when he should have got the benefit of the doubt.
I
Brian,
think
you want to say something?
Brown Warrior makes a great point. If I can just bring his comment up, the slower reaction times defending probably worked in their favour. I thought the same after the match as well. I think if
Who's this, Bucky?
Yeah, Bucky's, because Abada was making that run. Yes, sometimes the passing was a bit late to him, but I just think the Bucky Thistle players couldn't keep up with him, and that's the reason why he was offside so many times. Yes, I know he's got to track his run, but maybe he's used to playing against defenders that will, stick tight to him. And the fact he was getting so much freedom was maybe the reason why he was going offside so many times. I think he looked very much in the mood. He was so unlucky with some of his offside calls. I've got no complaints about his performance whatsoever yesterday.
What I liked about it was it didn't deter him, Hamish. He kept doing it. He kept doing the same thing. He kept wanting the ball in that channel, and they kept trying to find him. And I'm happy with that. And as I say, great setup for Kyogo. Bread and butter goal, as Ryan said, total 21-22, under Ange ball and all that kind of stuff. But happy to see that.
But even obviously all the offside stuff yesterday frustrating, and a few people pointing out the standard of the opposition yesterday, and maybe we can't read a hell of a lot into it, and I take that point on board. I think there's a fair amount of credence in that, but the very fact that we're getting in behind teams now is a huge improvement in what we were getting prior to this 5-game run, because that was the big frustration. It was like all to feet. It was all so slow, ponderous, whereas now, take away the standard of the opposition, it's the intent from this Celtic team. Matt O'Reilly spoke about that after the game. And by the way, it was very strange seeing Matt O'Reilly and Neil Lennon talking to each other. That's like something that, in my opinion, shouldn't be happening. They're from two different eras.
That's the Kyogo and Edwards picture from the 21-22 season. It's just that was made by AI. That's not a real photo.
Yeah, but anyway, O'Reilly was talking about, it was all about us, and it was our attitude and our application. And for me, that would be the big takeaway from yesterday, because we've seen Celtic teams in the past in a game like yesterday just kind of canter through it, and I think from what it sounds like, it seems like there was a bit of intent from the team coming back, and I just like the fact that we're now looking to get in behind teams, because that to me is people talk about that with the Postecoglou teams. That's a Brendan Rodgers team as well, getting in behind. It's something we weren't doing at the start of the season. It was all to feet, and even when we were winning games, it was kind of that was missing, I felt, from our performances. But now it seems like there's a massive intent to do it, and that's something I'm really looking forward to seeing. The wingers, we've got Abada back. He's like a new signing. He really is. We've got the new signing coming in as well, and we'll see what he can offer Kuhn, and Palma and Maida to come back, and all of that stuff. So I'm excited to see the wing play. But that intent's there, Tony.
That's what pleased me greatly yesterday. The attitude and professionalism of Celtic yesterday didn't go through the motions, despite the fact that they knew they were going to win the game. There was intent there, and it was intent from start to finish, and I liked that. Even when the young guys come on, it ratcheted up a notch again, because they were desperate to impress as well, and Rocco Vata got his goal, and Daniel Kelly played really well in their appearances. Yeah. So I was happy about that yesterday. It was all on point, given the level of the opposition. It would have been so easy just to say, right, okay, let's just see this out. It's 3-0 at half time, game's done. But no, there was intent the whole game, and as you say, they were trying to get in behind. They were doing a lot of good things. So I'm happy about that. And the manager was also talking about that too, that their attitude to this game was first class. They treated it like every other game that they have this season. So I was delighted with that, and that's what I want to see from Celtic. And as you say, I'm excited now about. I think this is a team now going through the gears, and there are a lot more gears to come, and against better opposition, better standard opposition, granted. So I'm looking forward to see what they'll be like come the end of January, beginning of February. see where Celtic are at, because I think they're starting to show, Brendan Rodgers' team are starting to show that they're they're doing what he wants.
Yeah. George taking umbrage with my comment about Neil Lennon. It was no slight on Neil Lennon. It was more the fact that they were just from different eras, and I found it quite a jarring image. Neil Lennon is a Celtic legend, and Matt O'Reilly's, don't know if he's heading that way, but he's certainly doing well. There is a feel-good factor, a feel-good feeling at the club, but we really need a couple of signings this week, guys. We can't allow a 5-0 win over Bucky Thistle to let the board effectively get away with not strengthening. I must say, we're 22nd of January. I think it's a bit disappointing considering the work that we all know needed done in the squad, that we only have one player in so far. Dennis at the start of the stream was asking, will we see a new left back and a striker in by the end of the window? At the very, very least, we have to get a left back in, because even if you say Greg Taylor is the best left back in the world and all of that stuff, it's only really Greg Taylor there because Bernabe clearly isn't fancied. So even if Greg Taylor was amazing, which he's not bad, we need another player in there. It's not going to be Owen Beck by the looks of things, because he came on for Liverpool yesterday, so he can't play for a third club, which is kind of very Celtic-like, I must say. I laughed to an extent when I saw that. But Ryan, we need to sign a left back.
Left back and striker, I think that's a bare minimum, I would say, for the rest of this window, because every time, and I'll talk about the left back in a wee second, but every time Kyogo goes to the floor, I'm worried, because there's only one striker at the club at this present moment. He should be wrapped up in tinfoil or whatever, or polystyrene or something.
Cotton wool.
Yeah, cotton wool. Whatever material you want. Yeah, or all three put together. I don't know what that would do to his mobility, but you're worried every time he goes to the floor because he's the only striker. I know Vata came on and scored yesterday, and by all accounts looks as if he's put on a bit of bulk as well, which is good for him. He's more of a number 10/winger, so that could be something that's used as well. But I think another striker is definitely needed. A left back is definitely needed, because he's the only left back currently playing at the club. Bernabe got on the bench yesterday, but he didn't come on. The same goes for Turnbull. He didn't come off the bench either. Probably tells you where Turnbull and Bernabe's futures are at, and it's probably elsewhere from the club that they're currently at. I wanted it to be Owen Beck. I'll be perfectly honest. I was really impressed with him at Dundee. So to hear him coming on for a grand total of 7-8 minutes for Liverpool, and that 7-8 minutes is probably going to cost them a loan move out with Dundee, because I know he could go back to Dundee and play for them, but that's pretty much his options. He's either going to sit on the bench or not even make the bench at Liverpool, or go back to Dundee. He can't go to Celtic. I don't know what I would feel like if I was Owen Beck at this moment, because I'd be delighted, I'd be buzzing that I'd made my debut for Liverpool, that and being part of a 4-0 win, which is a good win against an informed Bournemouth side. But and on the other side of it, would you not be a bit annoyed because you're like, I might have been cost a move. I might need to wait another 6 months.
It's only 4 months for the rest of the season, isn't it?
Yeah,
so you'll probably just pop around the Liverpool reserves or whatever.
I can assure you, Ryan was spewing at that 7 minutes that he got yesterday off air.
I got about five notifications from different people saying that he's just came on for Liverpool, because I was checking it in the background because I knew he was on the bench. I was like, you're running the risk. It must not be that far down the line if he's making benches for Liverpool, because there would have been an agreement between the two sides, if an agreement had been met, to not put him on the bench in case that eventuality was to happen. So I'm guessing it wasn't as far down the line as what people were saying earlier on in the day. That's the only reason that I can see that he was brought on, which is in itself, I think, is a bit concerning, because I thought a player would have been identified by now, 22nd of January. It's getting to the point that you don't want a makeshift left back to come in for 6 months or 5 or 6 months or whatever, however long the rest of the season is. I'm wanting a left back for the next 3, 4, 5 years if possible. So it's not going to be Owen Beck. If it is going to be Owen Beck, then it'll be the summer, and I don't think that's ideal. I think they needed one in January, so they've got another 8-9 days to identify another left back, in my opinion.
A few people mentioning Liam Scales Liam Scales may play at left back if there's an injury crisis, but it's clear to me that he's a centre back now. He may have signed as a left back, but he's a centre back, and even if we are talking about playing Liam Scales at left back, that's something I mentioned a few months ago when we didn't have a transfer window to actually sign a proper left back. It's just unthinkable to me that the club would go through January and not sign a left back when that is such a glaring issue in the team. I don't know how Greg Taylor got on yesterday, but in general, he's improved over certainly the few weeks before the break, but it's still a glaring issue, Tony. We need to have someone signed.
It has to be addressed. How long have Celtic supporters been talking about it? And you don't mean any disrespect to Greg Taylor, but he needs competition. He needs somebody to come in and actually wrestle the jersey away from him eventually. And as Ryan says, for succession planning, you need somebody not to come in and do a job for a few months. You need someone who's going to come in and make that position their own for the next 2 or 3 years, if possible. And if we've been seeing that for so long, and the majority of the Celtic supporters have been seeing that for so long, it's criminal. It's bordering on criminal that the Celtic board and Celtic management and haven't identified a left back for this window and are leaving it as late as this to go and strengthen a position which, as you say, has become a major issue. And I don't want a scrambling around in the last week for players, but Celtic have brought this on themselves in this window, and this is now what we're going to have. And knowing Celtic's, wouldn't say they're desperate per se, but they know Celtic have got a few quid. So if Celtic are now going to seek out a left back and a striker, they are going to be held to ransom by clubs who say, well, Celtic have got a few bob, let's see if their interest is as strong as they make out. And so that's what's really annoying. And 9 days left, one player in, it's disappointing because the way the manager was talking before, you thought maybe 3, at least 4 at a push. Yeah. But that ain't happening unless they're going to bring in a plethora of loan signings. And I'm not a fan of loan signings coming in short term when they're going to go back, unless it's the option to buy. But that's something we've used prudently before. On you go, Ryan.
Compulsory buy as well. That's happened in the past. Players have been brought in January, and maybe just for the financial year or whatever, in what way to balance the books. That payment is then made in the summer because they're in a better position to do so. I'd be fine with that, but I just don't, like you, I don't see the point in just a straight up loan without an option to buy. Celtic have got to keep themselves right at the end of the day. And there's no point in Celtic just developing other players without having an opportunity to buy that player outright. I think they've got to keep themselves right.
The window's been underwhelming, hasn't it? Stroke disappointing, I think, for a lot of Celtic supporters. So far, there's still time to address it.
There's definite positivity in terms of the way the team's going, and even taking yesterday out of the equation, I think there's certainly a much better feeling than there was a few months ago. It feels like the team has direction again. There's players to get excited about, but this recruitment has to improve. I mean, I keep talking about it. The previous regime, previous manager, we would do our business early, we'd have our business done, and now it just seems like we've reverted to type, and it's last week. And listen, we might get the players in we need, but we kind of were saying that in the summer. We were saying, oh no, give them. We'll judge it at the end of the window, and it turned out that everything was just quite rushed at the end of the window. But maybe we'll get some news today. We do have a couple of guys have offered their services at left back. Jerry saying I played left back for my school team, about the same height as Taylor. And Pete saying I used to play left back, but I might be past my best at 74. Pete, we'll get back to you on that one. Maybe we'll see how desperate we are at the end of the window, and we might get in touch with you if we need a left back to fill in.
Emergency left back.
Yeah, and Kenny wondering any January transfer incomings to the channel to join Big Hambo. I assume that's me and the A team guys. He's lined up any January signings.
No, we did our business early. We brought you in. See, that was the whole point, and now there's a real shape to this
That might
team.
be the worst signing of the lot.
No, not the slightest.
Value for money.
VFM,
Utility man,
yes.
utility player, jack of all trades. No, we had I was going to say we had Hamish. Of course, we have Hamish. We had Tino on from the Celtic Exchange on Thursday. He's a massive help and a big fan of the channel, and I'm a big fan of his channel as well. So it's good to have him on. But yeah, this is the usual three. I think Kevin will be on tomorrow, so maybe that's a loan signing. I don't know. But yeah.
We had the comedian Des McLean on Friday as well.
So that
he's another friend of the show. So we mix it up when we need to.
Yeah.
But this is a so solid crew, isn't it? This is a so solid crew. I think you'll find this is the rotation,
and this is the strongest. Not the strongest. I don't want to say that, but you know what I mean.
I should say, by the way, Hambo's a very common, well, not common nickname, but I've certainly heard it a lot before. People seem to be absolutely loving that. It's heard that many a time. I won't be around tomorrow, guys, so I don't know. You'll need to fill in again, but I'll be back on Wednesday, and we're gearing ahead for games to come. Thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Hopefully we've cheered you up a little bit, got you through half an hour on a Monday morning, and we can now attack the week with gusto. How about that, guys? Right, we're going to head off. Don't forget to give us a wee sub on the channel as well as we continue to motor a bit like Celtic. Speak to you soon.